Today is a new day to start again. Take each moment one by one and do the best you can. Yesterday doesn't matter, it only serves as a ladder. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed, so make your plans accordingly. Today is a new day to start again. Take each moment one by one and do the best you can. Grand Rising, today is a new day to start again. It is 2/25/2025. That one sounds pretty important. 2/25/2025. It's been a little bit. I went on an adventure with Bodie, my cat, and me. We went to see my children, and I had a very nice trip. We used the Silver Fox, which is my car. So we landed last evening on a safe return from our first adventure in the Silver Fox, which is my car. So it was the three of us, me, Bodie, and the Silver Fox. We all have some miles. There's me, New Day. We know a little bit about New Day. I've done plenty of videos. There's Bodie, who's my cat. She is a 7-year-old black cat that I adopted about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and instantly is my favorite animal friend of my life. Bodie, you're my favorite animal friend, and I've had some nice ones. It's more her than me, though. Like, she's that great of a cat. She'd be anybody's favorite cat. She is just a very loving, considerate, and grateful. And she's about my age in, like, cat years. I don't know how that really works. Dog years have dog years, but they don't really say that cats have cat years because they have 9 lives. What life are you on, Bodie? The Silver Fox is a G5, 2007, if you can do the math. That's not a new car. It's a stick shift. My kids, my daughters, they were all they didn't understand what a stick shift was because they don't think they've really seen one. So I'm driving and I'm doing something. They're on their phones, and it took a while, but finally they're like, all 3 of them at one point were like, "What are you doing?" Because I'm doing all this. I thought that was kind of funny. Anyways, the good thing about this car is I got a steal really on it. I don't know if you call it a steal whenever you just get a really good deal. I think I deserved one anyways, and it was a connection to my father in how I got this car, and a lot of other weird connections that were strange as well, but you can tell the car had been taken care of, and so it did very well on the journey. Some people would be a little worried about taking a Silver Fox car of the same model that I have and the same mileage, but I had it checked out, and I felt pretty secure with it, and I feel even more secure now. But I definitely I need to find another method, because I do want to make a lot of trips moving forward, especially no matter what moves forward with my life, I want to do that more, like 4-day trips. And spending time with my daughters is my favorite thing to do, without question. So my trip was perfect with my cat because it was. And I think she's even in a better mood than ever now that we're back home again. I think we've established that this was home. I was going to do this whole video on home, and then you know what I thought about is I'm not doing my Fresh Eyes video this week because I've just got too many things going on. I'm going to start it again next week. It's slumped, but I'm going to try to rev it up again. That's where I do a live feed every Wednesday. I'm trying to allow myself to open up to others too in what I'm doing, because I think this New Day concept, whether it's me or not, is a good concept. But so my new concept I'm going to do is home is going to be my next subject. I like it, home. I was going to talk a lot about it today, but I'm like, I'm going to save that because that's what I do now. I strategize. There's no ties. Strategize. It's going to be a long video. I do want to keep my personal matters personal. I'm trying to do my best I can with that. So when I went to see my daughters, my main goal was to fill my cup up. The problem is your cup is only so big, so you can only fill it up in the amount of time that you have, and then you have plenty of time because it's full. So I tried to just enjoy it full and sip on it, and then as I left, you sip just enough to be able to still move again. Otherwise, you stay put. You can keep it full, pretty much full all the time. That's really hard, though. Teenage daughters they're working through their life. So I have no idea where I was going with that last line, so let me read the line. You can only fill your cup up to the brim. If you are staying put, you should sip a little off the top if you're going to travel. Like if you're going to go across the room and you got a full cup, take a little sip first before you go. That was something I wanted to point out for some reason. That's the Tao. But I wrote it down, so you could pick it up. I found out during the filming of episode 1 of Adventures of Bodhi and Me and the Silver Fox. I didn't film anything. I'm going to segue real quick since it's going to be such a long video anyways. During my formative years of being a father as a divorced dad, I was very active on social media. And I really wanted to show, I thought in my head kind of other divorced dads how to do it. Don't do it the way I did it. That's the best thing I can get out of that one. But also, I think that I really wanted reinforcement that I was being a good father, so I always was showing and spending a lot of time trying to seek out that reinforcement when I really should have just been trying to get that from my kids. And that taking all these pictures and things like that really takes away from living present in the moment. So on this, just progressively over the last 2 years, I've done less and less pictures, and to a detriment in some ways, because it's nice to capture those memories and have them, but I just am more into using that into putting it into my art, and that's what I'm going to leave as opposed to pictures. How about that? That's poetic. I really have a deep love and connection to gemstones, is what I found on this filming. On my filming of, for me in my head, I'm doing the Adventures of Bodhi and Me and the Silver Fox, and when I'm walking around sometimes on these, I encapsulate the moment as the trip, and from the beginning to the end of it, I'm trying to follow through. And last night I was very proud of myself, if you can have pride in yourself, that I really nailed it by getting everything out of my car at the end, even though I was really tired. And I went and got cat litter because I didn't forget, but I used all the cat litter. And when we got home, I had no cat litter. So then there was one store in town that was open late enough, and I drove and got that and brought it back. And it made everything this morning much easier. But I was proud of myself, if I'm allowed to be proud of myself, that I did finish the trip out. Because I cleaned my house before I left. And a lot of it was so I could have it prepared for a friend that was coming over. But I did clean my house, and that was also good. So I'm trying to do things that are good. But anyways, on this trip, I went to several gemstone stores because we were down in St. Charles. Historic St. Charles is where Lewis and Clark had a big part of dropping off from. And Clark is my last name, and I'm always connected to that area anyways, because there is something to our names for sure. But they had a bunch of gemstone places down there, and I'm really been into rocks over this. All part of my awakening kind of has been with rocks as well. Like slowly, the more I use them and the more I'm touching them, especially ones that I touch over and over again, the more energy it feels like I get from them. I don't know what to tell you. There is potential that I am being called to study rocks and gems. So I got really excited in these. I haven't had that in a long time. This lady was very knowledgeable, and I was talking to her, and I knew that I was taking up too much of her time, and I think it was a busy morning. I forget, it was a Saturday morning. I was trying to go through all these stores before my daughters came through, and just trying to set the lay of the land so that I knew what was going on whenever they were coming through. It made it more fun for me, and they needed some time to sleep. So I don't know why I'm telling you all this. I said I wasn't going to get personal. But anyways, when I was in that shot, especially, she showed me some things that were these black rock where it's been cracked open and you can see the crystals inside of it. And man, I just really got excited. And there's lots of money in that game, I'll tell you that. I don't know that it's about money, but I do need money. And if I'm passionate about something, that might be a way to go for me. And there's lots. It's just going to be bigger and bigger. I think that crystals have been a hidden thing from us. Not really hidden. It's always been there, but the importance of them. They showed us in Superman. But crystals are very like helpful, like therapeutically helpful. For me anyways, they've been very helpful. So they're going to get more and more popular as people realize that. So I do have about 4 or 5 plans that I think could help me move forward in my life to get and manifest what I want. So my new plan today is to pick the simplest and easiest of the plans that I can come up with, and then make a timeline for that one plan. And if I can do that one plan, one project, I do well with projects I've found in my life. Like that trip. I planned that trip and I had some bumps in it, but I was prepared for pretty much anything that happened, and I really enjoyed it, and I didn't have much stress involved in it other than, a couple of different things that happened. But I do better when people just tell me what to do. If I find somebody that I trust, that I'm hitched to a train, and as long as it aligns and it makes sense to me. I don't like being made to do stuff that doesn't make sense, and I don't like wasting time arguing why it doesn't make sense. So a lot of times I'm just doing the stuff that doesn't make sense to me, but that irritates me over time. That pisses me off. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. Bodhi is active and then talking. She talked a lot on the trip. So she did not like getting in the car. This is my cat, to reference to you again. She did not like getting in the car. She doesn't mind. She doesn't like being in the car. She talks a lot. She doesn't yell, but she's just like, and then she did get up on the dashboard once, and I was like, no. And she listened, and she got off, and she never got back on again, so that was good. And she stays put. I'm telling you, might be the best cat ever. A couple things happened on the trip. Little people, young children, will tend to say how it is. And one thing was pointed out is I have a hole in my head. It's like you have a hole in your head, is what was told me. It's funny. You get a hole in your head. And I'm like, it's not funny, though. It's not funny to me. But it was repeated over and over a couple times. And I get it. I have a bald head. And then I left my hat, my one hat that I really like. Bummed about that. That was one thing I didn't want to leave, and I did. So I have to get a new hat somewhere along the lines, but that's why I'm wearing this Titleist hat. I could go without it. I really don't care all that much about my head, but when it's really pointed out to you, then you're just like, all right. And the other one is that my cat is fat. It was said that it was the fattest cat ever saw. And that's not true, first of all. And then that became a whole thing. So I've only had this cat for 3 weeks, so it can't be really my fault. I have been conscious now of how much food I'm going to give her, but I'm not worried about it. I don't think she's worried about it. Fat shaming a cat, but it wasn't fat shaming. It's an innocence of a child. Just calling things like they are, but I don't really think it was right. Do you correct a kid whenever they say what's right? I mean, what's obvious though? But I don't think it is. It changed the whole flow of what the impression was of her. Though everybody was walking around talking about how great of a cat she was, and then it became, is she fat? That's not nice. I do well with, like I said, projects. I don't like being made to do stuff that doesn't make sense. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. I don't like the money thing, by the way. I've said that a ton. Then I went into common sense. Patrick Henry, give me liberty or give me death. What is liberty? I have no idea. Statue of Liberty. Torch in the air. Dudes and dudettes. If you've watched this far, you've probably watched a lot of my videos. If you still are unsure of whether I have a lot of really good resonating points, I implore you to really rabbit hole the origin and the ideas of what they truly know about the Statue of Liberty. Versus, so like, write down right now everything you know about the Statue of Liberty if you've never looked into it before. And then go do research on each of those, or just do your own thing, but really dig into like You can still find information on everything if you know how to search, like how you direct. So once you get into the language of words and how they really impactfully have jargons for each thing. So the Statue of Liberty has a bunch of different things associated with it. And when you do that, you'll start to see those things and you can search those. And when you start to search where these origins come from, it's very crazy. And it'll take probably an hour. You could watch some YouTube videos or whatever. You'll find like the gods that are associated with, they think are associated with, and there's just a lot of conjecture. But what you will find is it's not what we were taught for sure. And why? Because people that were teaching, why? Whatever. I'm not going to ruin it for you, but that's a really good one to do. If you like into America, find out about the Statue of Liberty. Liberty, liberty, liberty. My young man handle was Liberty Rings. I actually have Liberty Rings as one of my emails for one of the main emails, and I'm pretty proud of that because I was one of the originals of this email, and the name is hard to get because most of the times you have to add numbers to the end of it, and mine is just Liberty Rings, and I'm like, yeah, I've always thought that was cool. But I don't even know what Liberty is. And then the Liberty Bell was cracked. I went to Philadelphia, had a whole thing there. It was really cool. Went to Assembly Hall, or what's it called? I don't even know what it's called. Liberty Hall or Constitutional Avenue, where everything happened. And it was cool to walk the ground, and at that time, I was a true believer. I was like a George Washington man. I liked John Adams. I liked Thomas Jefferson. I was all into it. Paul Revere. Now, I knew as you get older that Paul Revere, the story was a little off. And then the Pony Express, you start to realize that some of this stuff is quick draw. The Wild West was young teenagers let loose with no supervision, and we had to scale it in. I say it was all dime store novels is what it was. Some of these new shows, though, I have seen where they touch on some of the secret society stuff, because there was totally secrets. There still is. People that think that stuff is, it baffles me. The stories were stolen. That's what it was. Like, you take a story about somebody, that's what narratives are. That's what these narratives are. They sound like they're right because they line kind of up, but everything else is destroyed around it, so you can't really verify anything. And the reality is you're getting one perspective. You're getting his story. The truth was buried under sand of destruction. I wished a wish on my trip. I did do a wish. I don't do that very often, but I was, when you go on a trip and there's a arc, and at one point you realize that you don't have very much time left on your trip, and it's going to be a while before you're going to be able to do the trip again. You're uncertain of everything else after that, and you start to get sad, and then you have to pick yourself up. Basically, you're like, oh, I don't want this, but then you're just like, yeah, but I want to finish it well, so it's not going to be well if I don't finish it well. So I made a wish when I was in a little bit of a low moment, and I'm like, that's what I really want, God. And then I went, but I want what you want. You can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. But if you try sometimes, you find you get what you need. I sang that song during the beginning of my marriage. We had a strange marriage. It's not funny. And my wife became very offended because, you're singing a song about basically saying, I didn't want you, but I needed you. And I thought it was romantic, honestly. I thought we were on a level of that would be romantic, is what I'm trying to tell you. I wasn't really looking for you, but this is what happened, and this is what I needed, is what I'm trying to say when you're singing that song. But it's also could be like, this isn't what I wanted, and this is what I'm stuck with. And that's not what it is, but I remember that it was a deal. So, and then she left in a huff. I think that was our divorce right there. I thought it was like something that happened to us that we were supposed to, and she thought that I was looking over on the other side of the fence. Maybe, I don't know. I wasn't looking for anything. I was ready to, but what it is, you're not supposed to get personal, so it doesn't matter either. I'm giving my own little perspective in a situation, and it's not true. It's just what I saw. I saw the song as a positive, and she saw it as a negative. I think that's the crux of it. I just think that there are some things that, and there are some conversations that really need to be had, like deep ones that are like on the level before you really make a commitment. But then again, they used to have arranged marriages, and a lot of these high school sweethearts things. I was talking about that. I think if you meet somebody when you're like 14 or 15 that you really cross paths with, that's your lover for life, and that doesn't mean sex. I think that may be what it is. And I've seen successful. I think sometimes when people meet in lust at 18 and 19 and then live their lives, those train wreck sometimes. And there's a difference between the two. There's a lot of difference between a lot of different things. But what I was going to say here, too, because I wanted to bring this back, in that idea of that song, you can't always get what you want. And if you try, sometimes you get what you need. That is the Tao for me, because it's not about what you want, it's about what's supposed to be done. And that's kind of how I feel is what life is. And sometimes you've made bad decisions that land you into areas where you're doing stuff that you don't want to do but needs to be done. And then other times, other people make decisions that force you into those same things. But it doesn't matter why. And neither of us are right or left. You go one way, I go the other. Right or wrong. I'm correct, you are correct. Write it down or speak it to be true. I'm sorry. For what? Who's on second? And I don't know is on third. I don't think there's anybody 19 that is still watching this. So most people know who's on first. What's on second, I don't know, is on third is all about. So are we on 8 yet? Boy, we're a long video, aren't we? I guess I should also mention, I was going to cut it there, but while I was on my trip, my long-lost uncle passed away. And I didn't actually know he was in bad shape. But I was in a weird place in my life where we're not having a lot of communication where I would have found out anything about it anyways, but I did close myself off from pretty much everybody. But anyways, last week I found out that the day before his funeral that my dad's brother had passed away earlier the week. And I'd never actually met him. There was a lifelong fallout between my father and his brother. I don't know much of what it was about, other than it had to do with, it sounds like, my grandparents' inheritance and the farm's inheritance, and probably a lot more. And I know my father had a role in all of that, so I'm his son, so I guess I have a role in that as well. But I don't even know anything about it, honestly. I've just been playing out my life. I also have 2 other brothers, and we all live in separate areas, so I mean, it is what it is. But what I've found is money always seems to be the root of evil, and that destroys brotherhood, and it sounds like it did with my father's brother and my father. And I know my dad, and I am sure that he had ample amount of play in the why they didn't ever. He was a hard-headed man for sure, but I really don't know. I never dug too deep into it. I will say this: I always thought that I would eventually connect with my dad's brother. I always found that I had a different type of intelligence, and I wondered if it had any kind of connection to what his line is, because it's still part of my heredity. But not to say that I'm like I'm just saying that I was interested for sure. And I wish that I should have reached out myself. I'm a 49-year-old man. I had plenty of time. But it never happened in this age where you can speak basically for free on video to anyone, anywhere, at any time. And we had plenty of time to do that. So it does seem very strange to me that I did never meet him or talk to him. I was apparently met him when I was 4 years old, which I don't remember much when I was 4. And I think it was very short. Like, I don't even know that we shook hands right now. I'm 4. Do I shake hands? I think it's potentially true that we would have liked each other for the same reasons that when my dad and I struggled sometimes. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, uncles and brothers and all of that is connected. But so it's kind of a shame to me, honestly. And that made me sad during it, but I didn't allow it. I was also with my daughters, and, I just took it for what it is. And maybe I can talk to him now. I've been trying to, actually. I've been that's what I've been doing whenever people pass on is I start looking around going, hey, you around here anywhere? And that's kind of how I am. Maybe the two brothers are talking now. Maybe my dad and him are talking now, and they're just and they remember why they loved each other, hopefully. I wonder sometimes at the end, I mean, after everything, when you wake up, wherever you go after you die, if that's what happens or whatever, it would be interesting to have a full understanding of every relationship and understand what your play in was everything. To have a real mirror turned on it. And some people say that's what it is. But that's it. It was a very auspicious trip. The Silver Fox, new day to start, and Bodie, all of us on our trip. And I will always remember it. It was a great trip. And boy, my girls. So this is one thing I wanted to do at the end here, a 27-minute video. If you made it this far, this is me, a tip of my cap, which I left behind. I left my hat behind. But I do want to give a tip of my hat, or tip of my cap, to my ex, the mother of my children, is what I try to call her so that I remember that she's not my ex, she's the mother of my children. My daughters all seem better and more adjusted than I've ever seen them. It warmed my heart to see them. How independent each of them are. I have a different relationship with each of them now. I did before, but when you've been away for a while and then when you're like me and you're coming in and you're really just trying to listen and observe, that's one thing I've been much better at. And I also used to try to force, on a trip like that, I'd come in there and I'd really try to push us to do things. I really tried to allow them to lead the horse. And it is what it is. Everything happens or has happened for a reason. I found it interesting that Ray, or Rhea, and then son for a reason, but I didn't want to go deep into that. And then my senior daughter, she was on a play. That's part of the reason why I went there to at this particular time, is I wanted to make sure that I saw my daughter, who is a senior in high school, who has been involved in drama from the beginning to the end. And I am so very, very, you're not supposed to say pride and proud, but I am very proud of her. And while I got to watch her on stage, I got to have a moment with my mother where I could just hear my mother just saying, well, ain't she just as cute as a button? It was really great for me. So I could feel my mom, and as I watched my daughter on stage, nobody can take that away from me. The Tao is great. Do great. Be great. Be grateful. I cried a little. I've been crying a lot lately. I've been trying not to. No fresh eyes this week. I'm not going to do the video. I didn't do videos on this trip because I wanted to keep it for me. I wanted to be in that trip, and I really needed it, and it made a huge impact. Dude, I am so ready to go now. But I do miss my daughters like more and more every second right now until it'll fade a little bit, but I am motivated. So no crying in baseball. Lots of things happening in my life. One project at a time. My goal is to be able to see my girls and be available to help my girls if they need help. And I can do that from anywhere. So it's time for me to bury my disdain for money. Me and money have a thing. I don't like ya, but I'm also good at things. So I'm just gonna make that cash real fast, like, because I can, and because I'm good. I'm a good father. Yes, I am. The Tao is great. Do great. Be great. Be grateful. Dinger. I'm a mess. I keep bubbling and crying.